Welcome to the podcast. We talk about all the things that are hidden in the shadows. This is Isaac, and on this bonus episode, I am joined by I just lost it, forgot your name,
Alex.
and Beth from Ghost Seekers, Texas.
Yes, sir.
Ghost Seekers, Texas, paranormal team out of San Antonio, Texas, my old stomping ground.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm from San Antonio myself, so we got something in common.
Okay. How
Yeah.
uh how long did you live here for?
Ever before I moved over here? Nah, I'm just kidding. It was like I lived north of San Antonio in a small town, Blanco.
Okay.
Yeah, for a majority of my life, and then I lived in San Antonio for about 10 years or so before I moved over here to North Carolina.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's cool is that I know what the places that you're talking about investigating I know of because of course I lived there. So, and granted, I never went there because I was really never into the paranormal at the time. When I was living in San Antonio, I was more part of the music scene and playing in
Okay.
bands and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Huge scene
Yeah,
here.
there's a huge music scene here. It's insane right now.
Yes, and I miss it dearly. And it's one thing I complain about the most that people hear is when I talk about the music scene that I came from. Yeah.
How's the music scene out there in North Carolina?
Where I live right here, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, Raleigh and Charlotte are two biggest cities, so they got the biggest scenes where bands will come through and play.
Okay.
Um, I think the most famous band from North Carolina is either Elasana or Every Time I Die.
I feel like I've heard of Every Time I Die.
Yeah, they're like the OG prog metal band.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know what's I'm gonna interesting. I don't how well. This is an intrusive question, but it would actually help me figure out whether you would remember or not. But how old are you guys?
I am 24 and she is 21.
So you probably won't remember then. Because let's say 10 years ago, when I was 25, actually more than that, about 12, 13 years ago, when I was in my early 20s, you guys were still little kids. So it would be hard pressed for you to even remember many of the bands that were in the San Antonio local scene of the early 2010s and 2013, that period of time. Now, that was at the time when the scene was, at least from my perspective, the biggest, because that was when the White Rabbit was still around,
Yeah.
which now is the Paper Tiger.
I hated that they changed the name of that place, honestly.
New management, new owners, yeah. And everyone
Yeah.
listening right now is, what the hell are you guys talking about? What is, if you're from San Antonio, you
Yeah.
know the history of the rabbit and how it changed to the tiger, which it's orange now instead of black. But the band that I was part of at the time was Aurorian, uh, with a deathcore band, and then I originally occasionally played with my brother's band, Settling Somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, bands that never made it past San Antonio, but I did play shows with Upon and Burning Body. Remember watching
Oh,
them when they first started. I actually went to one of their shows when no one knew who they were. I ran a random Wednesday. I roll into the Rabbit and go in there like they're playing them. You guys are really good. I went and talked to the vocalist afterwards. Like, man, you guys are awesome. Oh yeah, coming to the next week. We got the album release party going on. That's their debut album. Yeah,
man,
that's
that's awesome.
yeah. That was cool that I saw them how they what they were then and what they are now. So that's
Yeah.
uh some old San Antonio history. But enough for the music. We're here to talk about spooky shit. Um, so how did Ghost Seekers Texas get started?
So I started Ghost Seekers in 2018, and originally it was like me and friends would go like visit abandoned places, um, local creepy spots out in the woods. It started out like that until we got to the point of like driving out to Shirts, Texas, and this was 2019, I believe, in October. And this took place at like 1 or 2 in the morning. We went out to Woman Hollering Creek, and that's what started everything, started all the questions for me. And what happened was it felt like a minor possession or a channeling. And my friend Christian, who is sitting next to me where Beth is right now, uh, is like watching me lean my body towards the road. And I'm like, he's calling my name and I'm not responding. And I don't remember any of that until we stopped later at a gas station and he tells me everything. And he freaked out, threw me onto the dirt, and started running to my car. And when I hit the dirt is when I started like waking up or snapping out of it. And I started crying. Like I started bawling my eyes out. And the next thing I see is Christian dolphin diving through my through my car window because my car was locked and we had the windows down. And that's what started everything for me.
Well, I would say that of many reasons to start into the paranormal, never getting mildly possessed seems to be when most people in that situation would like, I don't want to be part of this anymore, and leave it
Yeah,
all
Yeah.
behind. But you just kind of went like, oh, I know this is real now. I want to try and find it.
exactly.
So when you put the team together, when did Beth join in?
Here was that.
2 years ago now?
Think so? About so?
About 2 years ago now.
Oh, awesome. And what are your, I guess, your roles in the team?
Well, I'm mainly on like camera just because I'm not big on like being recorded or being like on camera. Just that's just how I am. So I'm more like behind the camera doing filming, helping with sound stuff, more of like behind the scenes.
So like a tech person.
Pretty much,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
Yeah. And it's safe to say, Alex, you're like the lead investigator.
Yes, sir. But I also do camera work as well. I do all the editing for our videos. Um, I set up all the spots for us. I do the research. Yeah.
The main guy.
Well, I don't like to consider myself the main guy. I like all of us to have our main
Oh,
roles.
Well, that's cool. And by the way, a compliment from my co-host, my wife Megan. She says your editing of the videos is probably one of the best she's seen.
Wow. Thank you
Yeah,
so much. You have no idea how much that means. Truly. Thank you.
yeah, because she did editing, video editing in high school, so she
Me
knows
too.
she knows good editing when she sees it. So she's like, oh, whoever that does editing for their videos is really good.
Thank you.
um, so was that minor oppression possession experience that would made you believe in the paranormal actually existed, or was there something happened earlier in life that made you believe that the paranormal is real?
Well, I always believed in the paranormal and been pretty drawn to it. And my mother growing up, she would tell me like I would like as a little kid when I'm playing with my toys in the room, the door would be open and I would just like follow something and peek my head out of the hallway and just follow it. And
Oh,
then I'm so sorry, big brain fart.
that's all right.
But yeah, I guess you could say I've always been interested in the paranormal, and that incident is what made me want to push even more into it and find out even more about it.
Beth, did you have any experiences when you were young that made you go, "Oh
I
crap, this is real"?
do actually. I lived in a house that like the previous owner had killed himself in. So safe to say that like there were stuff that was going on in the house when I lived there. And I was like really young, but I still remember like very vividly all the small little things that would happen like just day to day. So I've always believed that there's something else out there, even if we can't see it or prove it just yet.
Mm. Now you've been going strong with the team for it sounds like what 4 or 5 years now. You said 2019. You started around
Oh, 2018.
2018, so it's been a while.
Yes, sir.
And what's good about San Antonio is that there's an endless amount of places you can investigate. The city is rich with history from the Revolutionary War, from the Civil War, from the Texas Revolutionary War,
Yep.
even going back to Native American stuff like that. So you have a treasure trove of places where you can investigate. So, in the time you've been investigating, has there been a specific place where you got some of the best footage or some of the best experience?
Oh, it's
It's
a tie
two.
between two locations, which are the Old Lavaca County Jail and the Old Park Hotel.
Hmm.
Now, the Old Park Hotel is in Ballinger, Texas, and the Old Lavaca County Jail is in Hallettsville.
Now, I heard a hotel. I didn't hear about the jail.
So, with the jail, it's already active at night. They have the same amount of activity happen during the day. Like broad daylight, you'll hear clear footsteps, running footsteps, bangs, um, disembodied voices, sometimes mimicking. But the part that really scared us about the old Lavaca County Jail was Chris, who's also another member of the team. He's not here with us tonight. Him and I were doing a session while she was taking a nap in the housing area. And this was about a little after 10 o'clock p.m. And Chris is recording me. I'm explaining like what we're about to do. We're about to go upstairs to the upper cells. And as I'm saying this, you hear like loud footsteps from upstairs. And then it died out a little bit. And then I started speaking again. And then you just hear running footsteps come down the stairs. And at that point, we thought someone was in the building, or actually, not yet. After that, we went upstairs, checked everything. No one was found, no one to be seen. And we go to the woman's section of the upper cells, and we start hearing like rustling, scuffing. Then this weird part happened that I can't really explain. There's this loud noise that comes from the ceiling, and it sounds like someone scuffed like down through the hole of the ceiling onto the cell that we were in.
Hmm. That's
And
interesting.
at that point, we called the owner, and she had her cop friend come out,
Mhm.
and he didn't even go inside.
I was like, yeah, this
He
happens.
was just like, "Yeah, this is a normal occurrence. Y'all be fine." It's like,
There's nobody there.
okay.
Hmm.
Um, but for the rest of the night, we had just set cameras up because we were worried that someone was actually inside with us and just fucking with us. But night two came along, and it wasn't as intense as the first night. Nothing like real heavy like that happened. Now, her experiences at the old Park Hotel, would you like to?
Sure. So the Old Park Hotel was it two brothels? Like way back when?
I think it was two
Like
or
two di
three.
like multiple different times. It was like a running brothel, and you can still feel like residual energy from that specific thing there. Like there's a specific room there called the 50-50 room where half the time you feel something, half the time you don't. And it affects women. And every time we go, and like the first time we went, this is what started all these like feelings and emotions for me was being in that 50-50 room. I could feel like just sadness and anger, and eventually like I started crying. I had to go sit in the hallway because it was too much. And once I was sitting in the hallway, I feel like not only could I like see shadow figures, but feel how the women back then were feeling, like waiting to be taken to a room. That kind of like anxiousness of waiting for something to happen, that feeling of like, oh God, like I'm gonna, something's gonna hurt, something's gonna be bad, which there's just so much emotion there that it does overwhelm you.
It really does.
Like it breaks you down.
Now, in being a fellow investigator, as with my team, there's been occasions where Megan on our team, who also goes, but she's Megan's a very powerful psychic and medium, so she always empathically feels the emotions of the dead and stuff that's there. So we don't know if it's because her ability or because the spirits there want her to feel what's going on. Um, so in often cases when I hear someone saying they felt the emotions of it, my first thought goes in my head is that do you have some kind of empathic abilities that you're not 100% sure about, or is just the spirit energy there was so strong that you automatically felt it?
I mean, I've had like those feelings almost every place we go to in some sort of way. So I do think it's something that I am in touch with, but at the same time, I do feel like, it's stuff that they want you to know or they want you to see and feel. So I feel like it's kind of both, in my opinion.
Until I get better evidence and more collective, I can make a proper theory. But it seems to be that she feels what they want her to feel in the beginning stages of her ability. It seemed like that. Um, Now it's like whatever she channels into. But then again, practice makes perfect in the sense what she's been doing. So in such case, I would, if I were you, I would look into it a little bit more. You might have something that you don't 100% know you have. On that, in your team, how many members of your team there is there?
Three.
Three. Okay. Um, have you worked with, or is there some? There's your other member is he a psychic, or have you ever worked with psychics?
We've never worked with any psychics yet.
Yeah.
Chris, he's sensitive, but he's not um empathic.
That is the early stages of abilities. At least you become sensitive to the other side. That's what we thought Megan was when me and her first started dating way back when.
Mm,
Um, and where she is now is so far more advanced. But what I theorize is that if you spend enough time with the paranormal, you start become attuned to it versus say someone who doesn't. So it's
exactly.
like you may have show empathic abilities when really you just become so attuned to the dead, you know when they're around.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now, my team, all of us have abilities and stuff like that. So, and what makes us special in the sense that each of us have our own, well, job in the team for what we do. So, I've never not worked with them because all my team is, uh, which doesn't make us, I guess, not special, but also makes it slightly annoying because it's really hard to take any footage because all of us are using our abilities, so we can't really hold a camera. But we've invested in body cam, so it actually works out pretty well now. Yeah.
That's cool.
Um, what is like? Because I know in the early days of investigating, having equipment is really hard because some of it's really expensive out there.
Yeah.
So have you accumulated a good amount of equipment, and what is your favorite piece of equipment to use so far?
So since 2018, we have accumulated quite a bit of equipment. I would have to say my favorite piece of equipment as of right now would probably have to be either a spirit box or a REM pod or myself personally.
How how do you use yourself as a piece of equipment?
I usually just walk myself and have the spirits take me where they want to be seen or heard. I just get in tune with the atmosphere, if that makes sense, and try to adapt.
I call it the internal compass. There's a few other people I know that do that. It's like they focus on their mind and allow the spirits to lead them to where the direction is.
Yes,
Yeah. So that's cool. You're listening. And one thing I would try or suggest to you while doing that is the S's method. Uh,
yes.
do that as you're walking around and see if you can walk from one point to the other blindfolded and deaf and only listen to your spirit box and see how far you get without bumping into something. Because I have seen the elder psychic on our team, Mike. I seen him walk like 100 yards down a path without ever hitting a tree, hitting a
Wow.
branch, blindfolded, just listening to the spirit box as someone was guiding him.
Wow.
Yeah. So try that. I mean, well, have someone, I guess, spot you just in case they're about to run into a wall or something. But
Yeah, we'll definitely have to try that.
yeah,
That sounds cool.
Yeah. It's something I've seen, but if you allow them to, pull you in certain directions, I guarantee you'll be amplified doing the SS method as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to try that.
Now, do you find much success with Spirit Box?
Um, I do, but a lot of people are saying it really depends on like what spirit box you use. I like using the SB7 spirit box on AM, and I also like to use the S box from Ghost Stop. But that's the only piece of equipment I'll use from Ghost Stop.
What's funny is my team, we haven't put much effort into equipment, like I said, because we never needed it. But we are getting it now just so we can, record and prove what we're doing. But as the most part, I usually tell people that the best piece of equipment you can have investigating wise is your phone because it's a camera, it's a flashlight, and plus you can download some apps that are worth their weight. Um, have you tried using paranormal apps, or you think there's like they're whatever?
Back then, I used to because that's all I had pretty much back then. And but now a lot of people are starting to use this app called Spirit Stalker, and I'm still pretty iffy on that app.
I haven't heard of that one. The top two that I put most of my stock in is Necrophonics and GhostTube.
Okay.
Yeah, go Necrophonics. About 80% accurate with most of the stuff. GhostTube is almost 90. Um, GhostTube is more of a dang it, what was the name of the box that generates words?
The Ovilus?
There you go. It's like an Ovulus. There you go. And the Necrophonics is it's a generated spirit box. So
Okay.
yeah, it's what we've been using, and it seems to be very effective, especially in doing the S's method with Mike, because it gets to a point where it's like I'm having a conversation with whatever's there. And it's my theory that I think psychics or mediums, when they're doing the SS method, they seem to be more magnified, or better say a better tuning fork to picking up
Yes.
the voices and getting a better answer. So whoever's asking the questions and whoever's giving the answers can pick out the right answers to the questions that are asked. So it's like you're having a conversation. Has there been a profound experience while investigating that made you go like otherworldly, like, oh, this stuff is like beyond real, this is like something that made you question reality?
Definitely the experience at Woman Hollering Creek for me. Um,
Do tell.
with it was the one about leaning towards the road and the one I said in the beginning.
Oh, okay, the minor possession.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What
Have
about
you
you?
done any oppression cases?
I have not.
Okay. Well, before I get into that one, Beth, has there been experience while investigating made you like question reality?
I'm not too sure about like question reality. Just like memorable ones, like Old Park or Times from the Jail. Just stuff that's stuck with me, but nothing, I don't know. Nothing made me like question.
Not seeing a shadow figure crawl down from the ceiling and look at you?
I've seen it enough.
Yeah.
I lived with it, you know. I feel like with living in places that I've like seen shadow figures or I've heard my name be called or I've seen, you know, things move when they shouldn't be moving. In my personal opinion, I think for something to really make me question reality, I need to see something like crazy insane now. Just because when I was so young, I saw it so often. I feel like, yeah, it's scary, but yeah, it's something that I've seen before, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, yeah. But I experienced in my short time as investigator, what I would have to see now would have to be, otherworldly.
Like
Uh,
someone like floating in front of me or a
Yeah.
head
yeah.
spinning all the way around, like something crazy.
So when I asked about the oppression cases, do you avoid them or just haven't had them come across your table?
We just haven't really had them come across us.
Have you done any home investigations?
I've done, well, I've done two houses. One house I did two investigations at, and the other, she's really close to me. Her name is Roxy. She's also an empath, and also our mentor. And yes, we love her. But I've investigated her house maybe 7 times now.
And the spirits are still there, like no one wants to leave.
It seems like it.
No.
And it definitely seems like there's oh my God, I can't think of the word. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. No, you get like if you're like, I know the word, I see it, I just can't say it.
Residual trauma?
Past there's like past trauma.
Residual
Residual,
trauma.
yes, there's residual trauma like stuck in that house.
Hmm.
And every time or I've investigated it, it seemed, especially the last time we've investigated it, we got a lot of relevancy to the residual trauma.
Interesting. I I know there's always residual energy left at certain locations, especially locations that have a very traumatic experiences there, which makes me wonder, did anything or is her house known for that, or is it she's something she inherited the home and it already kind of was there?
Well, her house was actually on the news and about her collection and herself, actually. Um, but some things did happen there, but they are not my stories to be said because it's not my place to say.
Oh, well.
It's really traumatic
Personal.
for her.
Oh, okay. Kind of sounds like I need to have a conversation with her. Possibly in the future. Yeah. Make some connections. Um,
She's really sweet.
She's really cool.
well, I guarantee I can tell her a couple things that she's probably never heard before.
She's one of the most
She is, yeah.
open-minded people
She's
that I have.
seen it all, been through it all. She is like,
She's claimed to see like Michael and Loki like come up to her.
if
Yeah, I think
otherworldly was a person, it would be her. She is like, if you have questions about anything or like stories about that stuff, she is like the person.
we'll have our conversation after this, and then I'll see if that statement still stands. And everyone, my avid listeners know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm not going to cover the time again with just talking about it. Um, oppression cases seem to be something that my team has been doing more than anything. Like I think we're up to 10 or 11 now.
Wow.
And become very proficient in it. But it's home cases that always seem to be the toughest because people reach out seeking help, and they always reach out to an investigator, a psychic or medium, or someone like me in order to help them with their case and what they're doing with. Um, as investigators, what is seem your goal as an investigator? Like, what drives you? What do you want to get out of as an investigator?
What drives me is the thrill, the excitement, and the memories that come with all of these different investigations and traveling that we do around Texas. And my goal is to really like persuade as many skeptics as I can with hard evidence, even though they won't think it's hard evidence, you know?
Yeah. Well, I always said there's three kinds of investigator teams that I've come across, at least I've got to know. Um, first and foremost are the worst kind, which are the clout chasers. Those are people who only ever investigate to get famous from it, and they're consistently just posting footage and or care less of what happens to the spirits that are there. Then, of course, the
Correct.
investigators like yourself and a few other ones I've met who are out to prove the existence of the afterlife, that spirits exist, that darkness exists, that there's stuff beyond the veil, and that whole world exists, and do whatever
Right.
you can. Of course, you're capturing footage, but you're doing that so to present to people.
Exactly.
And you have respect for the spirits that are there, and helping their situations and listening and talking. Um, there's a third kind, which is my team, but I'll explain what specific is about mine. Like I said afterwards, because everyone in this my podcast has listened to me talk about it 100 times. Um, but what so far in your investigations, location wise, did you get the most satisfaction from?
Most satisfaction. Again, that's a hard one.
Is it
That one I would have to say there's three locations and not two. The VFW Post 76, of course, that's like a whole
Oh,
nother home to us. That's actually here in San Antonio, downtown. Um, the jail and Old Park.
Hmm. Is there a specific reason why? Was there something that you experienced or a spirit you talked to you might have thought you've helped or at least get their message across?
I feel like we're definitely helping some spirits at the VFW Post 76, especially with the rumored girl that roams around uh, the post. We think her name could possibly be Georgia because that's pretty much the only name that we get when we try to communicate with her. Um, and she's told us like what happened to her, that the nurse left her unattended downstairs in the pool room, which was her water therapy because the little girl had polio. And so she was downstairs in the basement doing her water therapy, and her nurse left her unattended, and she fell and drowned in the pool. And so I feel like we're really helping her whenever we go investigate.
Similar situation, a place in local in town called the Octagon House. A little girl, she died falling off a horse, and it had to be early 1800s. And she spirits are there. And when we investigate that place, she comes up. She's very friendly. You can hear her over the spirit box, her talk. She even held my hand one time. I could feel her hand in mine and stuff like that. Um, so I understand when you talk about like a little girl spirit who's there to communicate and she seems nice and stuff like that.
Now, I've seen things about the Octagon House. I don't think it's demonic whatsoever. I don't. Who was that one team that went there? They were like a bigger YouTuber team, like probably Sam and Colby or something, and they called it demonic, where
it's always the one.
it might have been exploring with Josh. Um,
Octagon House in North Carolina,
yeah,
in New Bern, North Carolina. Or sorry, Swansboro, North Carolina.
yes.
I don't know. I don't know of any other team that went there. But then again, I haven't been there in a couple of years, so
Yeah. Again, I don't think that place is demonically haunted. I
well,
definitely think these bigger YouTubers are blowing these locations out of proportion with the
well,
whole.
I can tell you it was, but it isn't anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, that's because of what my team does. Um, if I've intrigued you more, yeah. Anyway, I'm looking at your faces like I'm reading it anyway. Um, so has there what I guess there's famous places in San Antonio, including myself, and even fans of the paranormal have known about, and few of those are in San Antonio, including the Black Swan Inn, right? The
Yes.
Alamo, and I forgot the name of that street where the train tracks where the car gets pushed.
Oh, that place has been debunkable so many times.
Yeah, but people still like going there. Um,
Yeah.
have you got to investigate any like well-known places in San Antonio?
We've been to, or I've been to the Manger Hotel. Um, I don't think we're able to investigate the Alamo.
No, no. Lesser
Uh,
Ghost Adventures, maybe.
I know.
Yeah.
Uh, we've been thinking about doing the Emily Morgan recently, and oh, what is another Donkey Lady Bridge?
Donkey. Everybody here knows about Donkey
Oh
Lady.
yeah. Um, Culebra Creek. It has like this tree deep in the woods that has like an old looking noose, and we've caught quite a bit there with disembodied voices. And this is in the middle of a park.
Yeah, but
Mm.
people also like it's local rumors that that area is haunted. Like people do know about it.
People usually try to stay away from that area too because
It's
it's
fair.
kind of sketch.
Similar situation, park near where we live in our neighborhood, that never cared too much about, nor do we even think about investigating. But we've heard things happening there from witchcraft activity, from murders. Um,
What?
yeah, that goes back all the way to the 80s,
Wow.
of stuff happening there. And we investigated a place 3 times so far, and every single time there's always something new and always something more intense at that location. And we were just like, I didn't think this would be here in a regular park. So you
Yeah.
get surprised sometimes some location. You think it's just and then end up finding like capturing some of the weirdest stuff possible and like what the hell and this stuff is here. And I'm like, yeah, just I always like now I never not listen to Megan when she tells me like let's go to this place because she's been right all the time when it comes to investigating certain locations. If you got a feeling towards a location, it might be for on purpose. So
Correct.
um so what's next for Ghost Seekers Texas? What's your next big investigation?
Well, as of right now, we don't really have anything lined up for this month or next month, but we might do something in Colorado, maybe. We don't know yet. And October, we are for sure going back. The very first weekend of October, we are going back to the old Lavaca County Jail in Hallettsville, Texas.
Well, you guys go out of state?
Um, we the only place we've investigated out of state so far is the old Savannah Theater.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
George is actually my hometown.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. Well, how's that place like?
It was beautiful. It was a really cool location. It was definitely a lot of fun, although it was with like another group of people, so there was like audio contaminant here and there. But other than that, like we had a blast.
That's something. You guys ever make your way towards East Coast? Some places I can show you around here that will definitely go, whoa. um,
Because we take where I used to go growing up a lot to South Carolina, to Myrtle Beach and all that. So I used to be pretty close to North Carolina, but I don't think I've ever been
Been
in North Carolina.
well, there's an ongoing joke in amongst North Carolinians, and for any of my South Carolina people who listen, this is just a joke. But when I first moved here, I always asked about South Carolina. It says, "Oh, South Carolina is just the entrance to North Carolina." I was like,
yeah.
God dang, man. uh, but no, that's cool. And do you guys post most of your investigations on YouTube or just on TikTok or Instagram?
Mainly YouTube, our full videos, our full investigations, but I'll post like clips of like highlights on our Instagram, TikTok, uh, Threads, Twitter.
Threads, that's right. I gotta start doing more of that. That's new. Um, but I do appreciate you guys coming on. And where can everybody find Ghost Seekers Text? Like, give me all your social.
It's spelled all the same. It's at Go Seekers TX, all on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads, Facebook. That's
Pretty much everywhere.
pretty much
Yeah.
everywhere.
That's good. So for everyone listening, go out and check their stuff out. I always like finding more paranormal investigators to collab with and discuss things with and share stuff that we find because that's one of my main hopes in the paranormal investigation world is that we become more communicative and less competitive with
Yes.
everything we do. Because
Yes.
I know for sure around teams around here, it seems
Preach.
very territorial.
Preach that.
Yeah.
Yes. And same with I feel like that's people everywhere, especially in the community. Everybody wants to outdo one another.
And I've made a few connections to some teams in Canada, of all places,
Wow.
some
Cool.
Midwestern areas on the other side, in the East Coast, West Coast area. So it's cool that we know you guys in Texas. For the first Texas team that we actually talked to. I think
Oh
we
wow.
know another team in San Antonio, but I think you guys are the first ones we actually talked to.
Sweet.
And I can't even think of the name of the San Antonio team that I'm thinking about, but so I couldn't tell you if I wanted to. But I appreciate you guys coming on, and
Okay.
hope to bring you guys
Thank
back
you for
again and
having
talk
us.
about more investigations.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having us.
As always, we'll catch your weirdos in the next one.